Welcome back to 107 Meridian FM. This is the Meridian Sports Show. Right now, I'm joined by the guys from South London band Sundial Avenue. Welcome to the show, lads. Thank you for joining me.
All right, mate. Nice for you to have us.
It's good to chat to you. So let's get straight to it. The clock's against us, so I know you're heading off to the studio today, which is all exciting stuff. So can you introduce yourselves and the part you play in the band, and anybody else that obviously isn't on the call as well?
Yeah. My name's Ryan, and I'm the front man of the band. Also, along with the other lads on this with us.
I'm Hutch. So we're like two fronts. We both play the guitar, so we switch whoever's playing like lead and whoever's singing. And I play a bit of the piano when needed as well.
Nice.
And then we've got Spence is our bassist. Not Space is our bentsist. Spence is our bassist. And Dan is our drummer.
So there's four of you in the band. Okay. So do you all play instruments?
Yeah.
So the four of us do. Actually, when we put it together, the bassist couldn't play. He used to only just drop us off to rehearsal. We had no bassist. He picked up an acoustic guitar and tried playing the bass on it, and it's just stuck.
Oh wow!
And he was saying he hasn't improved. So.
Well, how did you all get together? How did it actually happen for you guys? Because you're a relatively new band, aren't you?
Yeah. So I mean, I put the band together a fair few years ago, but we've only really been as we are now for the past year.
Okay.
I'd say. But in 2016, just after I left school, I started playing music with who was the ex-drummer, George, and Spence used to drop me to rehearsal. The three of us did bits together. And then I met Hutch through playing football on Tuesday nights and found out that he sings and he writes songs as well. And we decided that we'd give it a go together. And that really was what became Sundial Avenue. So it's only been going for about a year now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you decide? Because obviously everyone wants to be a front man. So how do you decide which roles people took? Was it just based on your strengths with the instruments, or did you have a bit of a battle as to who's going to do what? The truth. Go on, the truth.
I'm going to come across like a really bad deal. But when the band was first put together as whatever it was in 2016, it actually started. There was another frontman, and I decided that I wanted to stand centre stage. So he soon left, and then I realised that really my voice isn't really strong enough to front a band on its own, whereas Hutch probably is. But I think I like the limelight too much, so I still want to stand in the middle, but let Hutch do all the talented stuff and sing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's be honest. There are acts out there that have two frontmen and two different voices for different tracks. So there's a couple of bands I can think of off the top of my head which I enjoy the difference in the mix. Sometimes they're both singers. You hear them on different tracks. How does that work for you guys? Do you take it in turns for tracks, or do you share your vocals on tracks as well?
Yeah, well, it depends on the song, I think. It depends how the song, as we write it, because we write most stuff together. Occasionally there's a song that sort of just happens in an hour and then that's done, but generally we write stuff together. And as it goes along, you kind of get a feeling of this is going to be probably suited for one or the other.
Yeah, that's cool. And you say you write together. I mean, that's obviously must have been difficult during lockdown. Or do you have a Zoom call and just bounce around ideas?
We did it all over FaceTime. Go on, Hutch.
We used to sit on. We probably sit on FaceTime from about 2:00 in the afternoon in the peak of lockdown when we were just furloughed and doing nothing.
Yeah.
Probably from 2:00 in the afternoon until about 2:00 in the morning. It was just playing and writing and playing and writing.
Yeah.
What came of it.
Yeah. I imagine it must be difficult to come up with a band name. All the best bands have a story behind their band name. So what's yours? Is it just the name of a road that one of you live in? Is that as simple as I'm just guessing here, but
Yeah, it really is as simple as that. So again, when we first put it together, when it wasn't as serious, the name was still Sundial Avenue, but it was just because the road that connected me to the then singer was Sundial Avenue.
Fair enough.
Road in Croydon.
Yeah.
So we just called it that. But when I say we went through some terrible names before that, we really did go through some terrible names before we settled on this. I think we were the Bubble Raptors for about a week. I think we were called the Ocean, which is just a play on the. I think Oasis called themselves the Rain for about 2 years, and we decided to try and copy that. Themselves the Ocean for a week. But I think Sundale Avenue's kind of as good as it got for us.
Yeah, no, I think it's got something about it for sure. So we're going to play one of your tracks after we've had this chat, which will be available online soon. But how would you explain to people your sound before they hear you?
I think we've got quite a because Ryan and I both have quite different sounds in ourselves. We kind of have
your vocals,
good diversity.
Yeah.
We've got quite a good diversity, I think, in the songs. I think some stuff you're looking at like maybe the Fratellis and sort of Libertines and that sort of sound, and other stuff's like Scouting for Girls and just more. I think there's a lot of variety in stuff. I don't know what Ryan himself would say, but I think
I think we tried to call ourselves indie rock, and then over the last year we've sort of realised that we're actually probably more indie pop, which sort of goes against the whole rock star image, having the word pop in your name. But I think if you had to put it in any category, it'd be indie pop. But it's Hutch said to me the other day, he said that we record songs that are so different to each other, and it's kind of just, if we like something we're writing, we like it. It doesn't matter if it falls into that genre. Yeah. Because I think everything we write is a little bit different to the song we've written before.
Yeah, no, that's very good, and would probably attract different fans from different genres in that respect, I guess, which can only be a good thing. You mentioned a few bands there that you sound a bit like. Are they similar to the bands that are your influences? Favorite bands and singers for you guys?
I think they would be included in the bands and artists that we'd call our influences. I think, I mean, if you go far back enough, and I suppose everyone's deep influences are just like the Beatles and that sort of era of music. But like, and I think because there was an interview with Paul McCartney, and he sort of said like they used to just write whatever they wanted to and whatever sounded good. And I mean that's God knows how much music they wrote.
Are you comparing us to the Beatles?
Huh?
Are you comparing us to the Beatles?
No, but in the sense of in that freedom in the writing, in the sense like Helter Skelter is like a huge guitar track, and then like Here Comes the Sun is. So I think in that freedom of like just write whatever.
Yeah, well, that's not bad. It's not a bad band to have an influence of, is it really, the Beatles?
Yeah, but everyone is, I think. But modern day bands, I think, it's that sort of category of like, like Libertines and Fratellis maybe, and then those sorts of,
What did you have any influences from a young age, or did your parents listen to a lot of music? Do you remember, going back, is that kind of thing got you into music a little bit, or is it just kind of off your own back?
So I reckon that my answer and Hutch's answer to this will be very different, but I grew up listening to like the Stone Roses, Oasis, all those kind of bands, the Britpop bands, and also like the Rolling Stones. I always preferred Stones over the Beatles growing up, because I think that's probably more of a Beatles guy. But I was into the Britpop scene because my dad listened to it. Stone Roses, probably the biggest one, and then I started listening to Scouting for Girls when I was about 12, and I think they're probably the biggest influence on me now. Anyway, I don't know about what Hutch's are.
I mean, I would say growing up, it's very different. I only sort of started getting into that sort of scene of music when I was maybe 15, 16. I listened to more, I think when I was about 12, 13, 14, I was more of a boy with a guitar image, and just one of those wannabe Ed Sheeran's kind of things. But I think my dad brought me up on a lot of 80s music, so a lot of like Chicago and Simply Red and bands like that, which I still love, but I think now I listen to more modern Britpop kind of bands nowadays.
The 80s have a massive influence on music today. You hear 80s music. I mean, I'm coming from the 80s era, and the actual vast difference in music you used to have. And a lot of young people actually enjoy that even now because it's so much more available. You hear it a lot on TV shows, in the background of films and stuff like that. So I think 80s is a huge influence, and it's such a diverse decade as well, which has kind of molded what we see in music now, I think. Let's talk about the future a little bit. Obviously, lockdowns got in the way of you guys, I guess. Although it may have helped you, put some tracks together and that sort of thing. But what are your plans for the future? Album, live dates, that sort of stuff? Is that all in your plans?
Well, I think our plans for this year, we're taking it year by year, and our plans for this year are just gig as much as possible.
Yeah.
And anywhere and everywhere that will take us, we'll say yes.
Yeah.
That is our plans, just because we love playing.
Yeah.
Recording music as much as we can, and basically just trying to give everything 100% for this year, certainly. Our debut single, which will be played, as you said, after this.
Yeah.
Ryan will probably want to give the date.
I don't mind. Yeah, let me give the date, mate. This is falls to me, this one. 9th of April, that's coming out, which is exciting. To actually have music out there for people to listen to rather than just listening to me in my room. 9th of April.
So yeah,
this is your debut track, is it? Your first one that's going out there. When was it? Is it a recently written track, or is it something that's been you've had in the bag for a while?
I wrote it in either right at the end of 2016 or right at the start of 2017. The song is all about growing in music. Basically, it's about starting from nothing and then breaking out. And the song actually references breaking out to America, which obviously at the moment is a million miles away. But it's all about the dream that music can bring you. So I think it's a very fitting debut single as well.
Perfect. I look forward to listening to it shortly. Obviously, this past year has been difficult for a lot of people, but obviously you guys are, in an industry which has been hit probably more than a lot of other industries. It must be difficult for you guys to, you mentioned there, trying to get live dates as much as you can once you're able to. But how's it been in terms of your planning and, the frustrations behind not being able to do any live dates and that sort of stuff?
Well, we can't plan is the issue. It's the last few weeks with the announcement that pubs are reopening. We've had a couple of bookings, but we've had 6 months of just dryness. We haven't been able to do anything. We've just had to sit around waiting patiently, just keep writing and hoping that eventually it'll all pay off. Which now it looks like it's starting to. We've put adverts out, and pubs are getting back to us on the back of that and booking us in.
Yeah.
It's good for us now, but as you say, the last 6 months have just been dry and it's been a waiting game, just hoping that it pulls through, which it looks like it's all on the up now.
Yeah, no, fingers crossed. What would you guys consider what would you consider a success as a band for you? What are you, obviously you mentioned earlier that you're planning year by year, but what would you consider a success even in in the early stages?
I think we had a conversation about a week ago, because we put out this advert and we got a lot of responses, and we were like, my head was in a really serious place, and we kind of had this conversation, the two of us, where Ryan sort of said, I'd rather have like 3 months of just playing loads and having loads of fun and being able to look back on it and be like, that was a cracking 3 months, than like put ourselves through the stress of you've got to make it to this point, and never actually quite achieving what you want.
Yeah.
And I think a success would just be to just make sure we're always enjoying it. Like, I don't, as long as I never hate it, and we do it because we're loving it, and we're not putting ourselves in a position where we feel like we're forcing ourselves to do anything because we have to. I think then we're winning.
Yeah, look, every band wants to play main stage at Glastonbury. No one puts a band together not wanting that to be the final dream. But if you're not enjoying the journey to get there, then what's the point in it? I just want to have fun. The minute music becomes a pain or feels like a chore, I'm just going to give it up, because what's the point? It's meant to be a hobby, which hopefully will one day turn into a job.
Yeah.
That's how I see.
Totally agree. And it sounds to me that you're very much a band that prefers to play live than playing in a studio. Obviously, you've got to do the studio stuff to get music out there, but actually, as a live band, that's the sort of stuff you live for. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. Certainly for me, I much prefer playing live. I know Hutch has he's got a home set up at the moment where he can record stuff in his room, and I think he probably enjoys that side of it a bit more than I do. But for me personally, I prefer playing live, 100%.
Well, we'll have to stay in touch because 107 Meridian FM, we've got our own stage at Lingfest down in Lingfield. Do you know Lingfield at all? Just not far from East Grinstead. Every summer, obviously, they had a break last summer, an enforced break last summer, of course. Hopefully, when that comes back, we'll have to invite you down to have a bit of a session on our stage, unless you're already at Glastonbury by now. I don't know, but but I won't want to take you away from Glastonbury. You know that headline set. You know, but hey guys, I wish you all the best for the future. Just quickly, I know a couple of you guys. That's you two, isn't it? You're football fans, aren't you?
Yeah.
Chelsea and Palace. Come on, give us your views on the season so far for Palace and Chelsea. Who wants to go first?
Go on, Hutch.
Well, I'm a Palace fan. So there's just no season really. It's like slow, and I don't enjoy watching anymore. And you kind of games with no expectation, you end up getting something out of, and you go, that's all right. And then the games where you want, I remember watching it was back in like November, December time. They were back-to-back home games. We lost to Newcastle and Burnley. And it was just the most sickening football I've seen in years. And the Brighton game recently, which we won 2-1 with 2 touches in the box, it's like, it just, like games like that are obviously great because you pick up 3 points in the biggest game of your season, but it's just the football itself is quite negative. So, I mean, I don't know if Roy will be still in that job in September, but
what side of fence you sit on with Roy?
I sit on the side of the fence that, because there's no point in investing in his signings because he's inevitably not going to be there long term.
Yeah.
But if he's not going to be there long term, I don't know why he's still there, if that makes sense.
It's totally.
So I kind of hope that Steve Parish, the chairman, has been sort of, his attitude has been, Roy will keep us in the Premier League, playing whatever football he wants to play. And he's been preparing for the correct management signing for this summer. And I hope he's been preparing for like a good year, knowing that he's got to make that decision eventually.
Who would be your choice to replace Roy?
I really like Thomas Frank, the Brentford manager.
Yeah, good shout.
And I think if Brentford don't get promoted, that's an achievable option.
Yeah.
Sean Dyche, a lot of Palace fans calling Sean Dyche his name. A lot of Palace fans are calling Eddie Howe's name as well.
Yeah.
I would like Thomas Frank. I saw a few shouts for Steven Gerrard as well if he wanted to make a Premier League appearance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, anyone that wants to play a bit of positive football essentially is what I want to, because I mean, we're not allowed in stadiums at the moment, but I barely want to go back when we are allowed, because it's so
it's probably a question to both of you guys. Obviously, we're no fans there. It's affected some things more than others, but with football being on 24 hours at the moment, I think you pretty much got a game on every evening, early evening, late evening. But with no fans in games, it's got to be affecting teams and players individually, surely.
I think it's a bizarre one really, because I think at first, when it first happened, we kind of saw a sense of they were almost playing games like training matches.
Yeah.
There was an air of like just much calmer. The players seemed much calmer and much freer, and as though they were playing without, or certainly with less pressure. And it will be interesting when the fans then return if that hasn't the same effect in the other direction.
Yeah.
Because they're now used to playing without fans.
Yeah. Totally.
I mean.
So I also think that you Palace boys, you need the fans for Zaha.
Yeah.
I think he thrives on that a little bit, doesn't he? I
Yeah,
think,
absolutely.
if you say you're lacking that creative flair, you're not playing any nice football. Well, I think your most creative player will thrive when the fans come back into the stadiums.
Totally agree. Yeah, totally agree. What about Ryan? What about Chelsea? Obviously, it's been a season of change again. Were you on board with Frank? Were you disappointed to see him?
Yeah, so I mean, I can't complain because we're currently sat in the top four.
Yeah.
But when Frank went, I've sort of lost interest completely. Yeah. I don't understand how the board can do that. Bring in a club legend, knowing that, well, first of all, we've got a transfer ban.
Yeah.
And bringing in a lot of young players, it's going to take time. They gave him a 3-year contract. They should just let him see it out, in my opinion. I think Tuchel's a good replacement, but I think anyone who took this job after Frank is going to get unfair criticism because of the state that they've come into. But I mean, I can't complain. We're top four with a young squad, so I'll take it. But I'm just not happy with Roman. If you're listening, I want you.
He tunes in every week, so if you want to give him a message, then yeah. But you guys, I mean, you got a great win in Madrid, didn't you? In that first leg, in the Champions League. So you got that to look forward to as well.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be like one of the like the 2012 season where we did poorly in the league, and then we're having to win the Champions League with an interim manager.
Big pressure.
In fact, I would say that's absolutely what's going to happen. Chelsea are winning the Champions League this year.
Hey, you never know. I mean, I've got a lot of time for your new boss, Tuchel. Obviously at Dortmund and PSG, he's very experienced, so he should be able to get the best out of his players, and he seems to be doing that in a short time already.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't lost yet, so that speaks for itself. I just think there's going to be a lot of stubborn fans who are going to get on his back very quickly just because he replaced Frank. But he hasn't lost a game. We're in 4th place, progressing in the Champions League. I'm not going to complain. I don't want to come across one of these sulky, bitter fans.
Fair enough. Hey, listen, you're a band and you're football fans. Yeah. There's been bands out there that have written football songs. Have you had any influence or do you intend to write a football song at all at some point, or is it two separate things? You enjoy football and then the band something else, but are they going to come together at some point?
I think we could certainly write a football song whereby the team is almost like a woman and they're breaking my heart. That could definitely happen. That could definitely happen. I could just change the aspect of it. Do you know what? I wouldn't even know how to go about. There's a great song called "Away Days" by a band called the Skinner Brothers, about going on away days. I wouldn't even know where to start with a football song.
I think music and football are two very separate worlds. I think if you play football, you're meant to be quite athletic and fit. And I think if you do music, you're meant to sort of enjoy drinking and that culture. So I think it's hard to bring them together. But writing a song about football, imagine having a World Cup song one day. That'd be incredible.
Yeah. Or exactly. Even I think one of our hopes is that we've got like certain certain tunes that become like football chants.
Yeah.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah. Hey, all up for that. Hey, listen, guys, I will leave you to get to the studio today. Obviously, a big day for you to use that experience. But it's been great chatting to you. When we find ourselves back to some sort of normality, we've got a new studio, a bigger studio, and we'd love for you to join us in the studio. Maybe do a bit of an acoustic set if you're happy to do that.
Absolutely.
That'd be great. So yeah, thanks for joining us, Hutch and Ryan. Wish you all the best of luck with the music. Stay in touch with us and let us know how it's going. And good luck with your session this afternoon. So let's have some music. This is Sundale Avenue.